Welcome to the Pandemonium Witches podcast, where the ADHD has just a touch of autism, where the true crime is as scary as the hauntings and unsolved cases. But the hosts never stay on topic for long. I'm Kat.
I'm Rachel.
I'm Em.
And I'm Meg.
Keep your arms, legs, and other extremities in the vehicle at all times, and enjoy the show. Good morning.
Good morning. We just sound so enthused.
Oh, God. I woke up this morning and I set my alarm. I set a total of 15. 15 alarms.
It does.
And Josh considers it excessive, but it's necessary. It's
right.
It's required.
If it helps you end up getting up and out of bed, it's not unnecessary.
No, right. So the first one I set was for 5, and then 5:10, and then 5, 5:05, 5:10, 5:15. So, and then I didn't get up with any
scattering
of
of them.
Right. I apparently got up enough to turn them off and set another alarm for 6, 6:05, 6:10, and 6:15. Got up at 6:05, turned all of them off, and set another one for 7, 7:05, 7:10, and 7:15. At which point, then the first alarm goes off. I hear, "You son of a bitch," and all the lights in the house go on, like all of them. And
thanks, Frank.
Thanks, Frank. He's a bit of a dick, but you know,
he wanted to make sure you got up.
Yeah,
because obviously the alarms were not working.
I was so nauseous last night. I made glass noodles for the first time. I made Korean short ribs. The whole dinner was $10. Because I'm also having it again for lunch today if I'm able to stomach it. I haven't been able to eat lately. For all of you wondering, I don't know if I'm pregnant. I have no idea.
But if you're manifesting it with us,
hey,
thank you.
Look, I don't need 100 some odd people manifesting me to get pregnant. That's how you get twins.
I mean, if it works, it's not a bad idea.
So, I know we, what was it? I have so many projects to do. Not enough time. I did my office. I did his office. I wrapped all of his presents. I don't think I sent you the pictures.
Not the most recent ones.
I sent him photos. Oh, and I sent him a picture from a year ago today. That was me telling him that I love him and that I can't wait to spend forever with him. And he's like, "Who the hell is BFH?" And I was like, "You." What do you mean? Well, I couldn't call you boyfriend.
Right?
That one is yours. Just sent it in the group chat.
Okay.
You're probably wondering, you guys are probably wondering, where's Em? Where's Meg? Where's the chaotic fuel? Listen here, bitches.
We're filming this on a Monday morning, so...
They have kids.
And also, jobs that require them to...
work during the day.
Be present.
Yes. We don't...
At this ungodly hour in the
morning. You work at night. So that's different.
I also work Tuesday night to Saturday morning. So
we're filming this Monday.
Yeah.
But it's coming out... Oh, God. I didn't even look. Excuse me. All right, so... There we go. 10/16. So this one's going to be October the 18th. Also, reminder, Rachel, tomorrow's the 1st, so you need to blow cinnamon.
Oh, thanks.
Yes.
Yes.
For those of you
I'll
who
keep
have...
my cinnamon sticks inside.
Yeah, so for those of you who have animals, cinnamon is bad for them. So what you can do is take some cinnamon sticks and chuck them through the door. Make sure your animals are not in the way and they don't try to chase after them like Tyr did. Last time I was threw it in the door. He's like, "Oh, treat! No, Tyr! No!"
Fluffy just watches me do it, kind of wanders over to it, sniffs it, and then walks away.
Does she bat it with her paw? Like, what the
No,
fuck
she
is
just
this?
walks over, sniffs it, and walks away. Like, okay.
So I didn't want to get on the phone until the waves of nausea had stopped.
Of
Knock on
course.
wood. I've only puked once in the last week, but I've also only eaten once a day. Because
Not because
I,
she hasn't wanted to, guys.
no, I want to eat food. I want fries and burger. Oh, thinking about food right now. Okay, hold on.
Sorry, bad idea.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just really hungry all the time. I ain't
Your
lying.
stomach says no.
My stomach says fuck your couch. So the boxes that I sent you, for those of you who don't know,
Yeah.
Rachel and I bought my husband. We talked about it on the last episode. 27 cans. 27 cans of Denison chili. If you would like to buy him chili, let me know. So I wrapped all of hers individually in 4 layers, two together, in 4 layers of duct tape, wrapping paper, duct tape, wrapping paper, duct tape, wrapping paper, duct tape,
It's a
and then
good thing you're not traveling with them on
no, that would be bad. I'd be like, please don't touch them. I can show you the process. It took me 10 hours. It did. It took me 10 hours.
1 year, Dad came to visit, and Mom got him the box of hot sauce that looks like dynamite.
Oh no. Oh no. Did he fly there?
Uh-huh.
Oh no.
With carry-on only.
No.
So he had to completely unwrap them, and he couldn't take them as in the box back. He had to completely take them out of the sleeves and everything.
That's terrible. Okay, speaking of horror stories.
Because he already gets, randomly selected because he has a traveling spot whenever he goes through the machine. He has a traveling spot that usually ends up appearing behind his right knee. But sometimes it's his left thigh, his right calf.
Just works its way up. Is
the
it
middle
like
of his back?
shrapnel?
It's always completely random, but it's always a random spot.
Is it like shrapnel?
No.
Oh.
It's just like a random spot. Doesn't matter what outfit. It's usually if it's the same pair of pants he's wearing, because he usually travels in one set of jeans. But
sounds like Josh.
Yeah, but he's tried different pair of jeans. It showed up on his shoulder. It's just like a random spot every single time.
Good God.
Yeah. This man has been pulled aside for TSA questioning so many times.
I've only been pulled aside once, and the lady was super nice because she kept trying to touch me, and I was like, I have severe trauma.
Yeah.
It has to be a woman. I don't care. Just ask me whatever questions you want. And they were asking about my scar on my back, and they were asking about why I kept dinging on the machine. I didn't realize that I had left rocks in my bra. One of them had iron around it, just wrapped. And so I'm like, hold on.
That'll do it.
You're going to see this. And I literally put out my bag so it would catch them. And I raised my bra over the table, and just rocks came piling out. She goes, oh, you're one of those girls. Okay, that's fine. I can't carry rocks in my tits anymore, because I'm terrified somebody's going to feel my titties up. I mean, it's not as bad as when I went flying with my friend to, SoCal, LA, for the D23 Expo, and she didn't tell me that she was also teaching a sex class that same weekend.
Oh, no.
And of course, those are carry-on only, Because of batteries.
Because the batteries.
So, of course, we get randomly selected because I have crystals in my tits.
And she has mysterious shaped objects in her carry-on.
And so they were just like, do you know why we selected you? And I was like, because I have rocks in my boobs. And they went, excuse me? And I went, I explain. And they lift the titties. Anyways, I found out that weekend what she does for a living, and she's a sex doctor. She helps people with reproduction, which I've talked to her about my stuff.
It's great. We love that.
We do. We love that. We represent all works of shoes. Also, before we get started, we're already at the 10-minute mark. I don't give a shit. You guys love it when we kibitz. To the woman at Dunkin'. There is a Dunkin' down the street from my house.
Uh-huh.
My neighbor didn't know about they thems or anything like that. And I was like, she is wonderful. She is a woman. And is how we present to her. And she went, okay. So she prefers she, her pronouns. And I'm like, I'm assuming. I'm not going to ask her. And I was like, hey, we have a crime podcast. And she goes, I love true crime. And I said, great. We're LGBTQIA plus friendly. And they said, wonderful. And I said, okay. So if you work at Dunkin' and you're listening, we love you. I wanted to give you a tip, but I had no cash. I don't carry cash. I'm not a drug dealer. Okay, so with that being said, instead of us doing cryptids today, I wanted to do a state.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was too tired yesterday to do any research, so I have nothing.
Oh, that's fine. I have something. 13 pages of something, but one of the items I talk about is already on my list of things to talk about because Meg's like, no murder. Well, sorry, Meg.
But that doesn't ever happen. There's murder everywhere, guys.
Right. So, today we're going to be talking the state that I moved to, the state that is now my home. Texas.
Oh boy.
Tejas. By the way, did you know that speed limits here are just a quote-unquote suggestion?
Yep.
I didn't know that until I moved here.
Well, in most areas, it's just a suggestion. There are some areas where they're like, nope, you have to strictly do what's supposed to.
Right, like over by schools or in city and everything like that. I was driving on the interstate and a cop pulled me over for going the speed limit.
Yep.
And I was like,
you were impeding the flow of traffic.
It was 10 o'clock at night.
That doesn't matter.
Well, almost 10 o'clock. It was like 9. But, I mean, my dashboard said 10, but it was... Anyways, besides the point. So, Texas, also known as the Lone Star State, is the 28th place in the U.S. to become a state capital, or a state, in 1845. State capital. Jesus Christ. The capital is Austin, though. Are you hydrating? I'm caffeinating.
I'm hydrating, because I'm probably going to go back to bed after we do this.
Oh, okay. Well, then lovely. You can have another coma. The biggest city in Texas is called Houston. Been there.
Yes.
Quite nice. Now I know what the fuck is outside my window at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's a mockingbird. It is the state bird, and you cannot kill it.
It's a state bird for Florida, too.
Oh, my God. But did you know that the state...
They're annoying little fucks.
For our witchy folks out there, if you're in Texas, I use blue bonnets on my hexes. Just a little pin in your hat. Blue bonnets are the state flower, and I can't pick them.
Because they're protected in the state of Florida, or
state of Texas.
In the state of Texas.
Yes. They have a state sport.
Not surprised. I'm surprised it's not rodeo.
It is! It is rodeo! I
was just joking.
It's super complicated on its own, let me tell you, but the fact that it's its own state sport?
Yep.
Have you been to a rodeo?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I love going to the Houston rodeo.
Listen, my ex rode rodeo. He was real good at it. Love him. He's a great friend of mine. When I tell you, it is a sport unto its own. A guy came
Oh
out of
yeah.
there with like a shattered nose, and he just like pushed everything back in his spots and then put some plaster over it, and he's like, all right, I'm good to go. And I was like, sit your ass down. Excuse
And
me.
then like just like exhales a huge blood clot out one
Right?
side and just keeps going. Yep.
What the fuck? They're like their own breed. It's like rugby
They
meets
are.
meets cowboy.
Uh-huh.
It's crazy.
Those ranch people are
Nuts.
completely different breed.
Nuts. Um,
Love them, but they're strange.
so did you know Texas got its name from the Caddo tribe?
I did not.
So, the Caddo tribe, it is said, Caddo, the Caddo tribe, greeted Spanish settlers by saying Teyas, which means friends in Caddo.
I like that.
I do
Too bad
too.
they didn't treat them like. Too
No,
bad that the incoming people didn't treat them like friends.
right. Texas is nicknamed the Lone Star State because in 1836, when the Republic of Texas declared itself as an independent nation, it flew a flag with a single star above it.
Yep, they still think they're their own country too.
I know, it's weird. Juneteenth, the federal holiday, started in Texas, which I am very cool. Like, I am very proud. I mean, I'm not very cool, but I'm very proud that
Yes.
Texans did that. Um, did you know that Davy Crockett was a politician?
Yes.
He moved to Texas in 1835 and died while fighting at the Alamo.
Mm-hmm.
Two POTUS were born here in Texas: Dwight Eisenhower and Lyndon Johnson. Houston has a space center known as Johnson's Space Center, also known as Mission Control.
Mm-hmm.
Did not know that.
That's where they do all the things. My sister-in-law uh worked there after she got out of the military because she was a diver.
Oh,
So she was, and she had, underwater welding and everything. So she would go down in like the suits and
I love
work on
her.
stuff.
I love her so much.
And so there's a picture of her, my sister, and their firstborn uh, together. And yeah, it was kind of cool. Like we went and visited her at work and saw the things, and it was pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome, though, to be able to see some of that stuff firsthand. I mean, living in Virginia, I was able to see one rocket go off, but it was
Mm-hmm.
just a space rocket, so it just went like around and then it
Yeah.
disintegrated. So, like, one of my patients, I loved him so much. I still have these coasters that he brought me for my birthday, and they're made out of the same mineral that's found on the moon, and it's very like it sounds like porcelain or something, but it's so
Yeah.
cool. So, because it's close to Mexico, Texans have developed a cuisine that is a mix of Mexican and American, and it's called Tex-Mex. Everybody knows about that. Chevys.
Yes.
I'm looking at you on the West Coast. Chevys. Six Flags. The theme park was created in Texas. Did you know that?
I did not.
Do you know why it's called Six Flags?
No.
Over its entire birth, Texas has had six flags flown over it: British, French, Mexican, Texan, United States, and unfortunately Confederate.
Unfortunately, the last one.
Yeah. That's how Six Flags got its name. But
Interesting.
I learned a lot about Texas. Like the largest animal that they have here is a Texas longhorn.
Oh yeah, they're big.
They're
ones, too.
huge. I want to pet one, but you can't.
Like, not including the horns.
Mm-hmm. They're huge.
The cattle itself is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put in these like 6 foot, you know, posts on either side of its head, which it knows how to maneuver with them to not hit anything,
It's
which is
scary.
kind of cool watching.
It's scary.
Oh, yeah.
So, are you ready to get to the haunted shit?
Always.
So, I didn't do them in alphabetical order this time. I did it by city.
Okay.
So, alphabetically by city. So, the first one we have is I'm going to give it a little shout out, which Josh was like, "Why do you need to know the information about this?" And I was like, "Because they gave me information for the podcast, you numbnut. I'm not going to go there, but now I want to go there and buy him a vape. Because he's being a dumbass. I don't need more vapes." Yeah, you do. You're going to come home and you're going to be nicotine deprived. I don't want to deal with that. So, for AAA Straight Vape in Killeen, if you guys are ever in Killeen, near Fort Cavassos, or if you're traveling in the area, thank you for telling me about the first haunted place on our list, because it is terrifying what I found out about this place. So strap and hydrate and get ready to dihydrate. Let's go, bitches. Built in 1886, it's known as the Drizkill Hotel. The name should kind of... It was a Romanesque revival structure that was founded on what one could actually label as blood money.
Not surprised.
So this isn't hyperbole. This is me, like, telling you the history of this trash person. The hotel was commissioned and paid for by none other than Jesse Drizkill, who was...
Hence the name.
Yes, which is what I put that you were actually going to say.
This apparently I'm a little obvious.
Literally, I'm going to put it in the group chat. Jesse was a successful cattle baron who had moved to Texas from Missouri with an eye for making tons of money. So, from this article that I read, he literally described him as, think Tony Stark without a redemption arc.
Interesting.
So, loads of money, doesn't care, womanizer, doesn't care. Pretty much a bastard. So, Jesse was a warmonger who sold his cattle to the Confederate Army. After the Civil War and the South went and surrendered, Jesse saw how rich he was and got the trifecta, hotel money and women.
Mm-hmm.
So, buying the land in 1884, he created the hotel to be the best of the best, limiting no expense. Not only was the hotel created by blood money, that was crafted off the lives of innocent people who were slaughtered. That's a long story we're not getting into today. But this hotel has become renowned as being really fucking haunted. So, aside from the fact that President Johnson and his first date with his wife, Bertie, was at the bar at this hotel, this place is a by-the-numbers joint that history, with history that I don't really have anything to contribute to that, because some of the history is bad. His history. Anyways, so I just omitted all of that because I don't... We're getting into some fucked up shit today. So, this place has become synonymous with hauntings. Wow. The Drizkill is full of ghosts, and it even has a Spotify playlist to the subject. Note, I looked it up. Second note, it's pretty damn good. I cleaned my house to it yesterday. Well, most of the house. You know, the first is tomorrow, so I have to clean everything before October 1st because I got to cover all the windows and everything, or all the mirrors. Yeah. But you want to know about the ghosts, right?
Yep.
Obviously. So, Jesse Drizkill is said to haunt the hotel. Shortly after the hotel opened, Jesse came under a lot of financial pressure, aka booze, women, poker, fun stuff. Drizkill had to he had to wholly forfeit his entire hotel in a bad game of poker one night. He bet his hotel.
Because he ran out of money on the spot and...
Yep.
Pink slipped it.
Yep. So, of course, that's not what you should do, but,
No, never.
never.
It's always a bad idea,
Right.
guys.
So, in the early 1990s, yeah, a distraught bride checked into room 329 of the dress kill. Her fiancé had just called off their wedding. So she decided to spend $40,000 on a shopping spree and a culinary free-for-all on the second day of mourning of her wedding. On the third night, she lined up all of her swag on the bed, pulled out a gun, and
Oh, no.
used a pillow to muffle the sound. To this day, guests of this particular room swear that they see her ghost towing bags upon bags up and down the halls of the hotel on the third floor.
I mean, at least she's still having a good time, apparently.
Seriously, God. And I put my note, yes, I know. Why is it always a bride, and why are they always in white? A kid. Again, note, why are there always kids? Another ghost said to haunt the dress kill is one of a child that died plummeting to its death after falling down a flight of stairs.
Probably also after the parents told it to
Right.
quit playing near the stairs.
The kid made a grab for his bouncy ball and overreached. Paranormal investigators have managed to catch the faint sound of the ball ping-ponging against the walls while a mischievous little laugh giggles. Yeah, I'm good, fam.
I hate that.
Thanks. Last but not least, we have the power couple, Lyndon B. and Lady Bird. The pair had their you go first, first hookup and date in 1934 in the dining room of the dress kill.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for years they went to this place to not only relive their first date, but to have like major special occasions, anniversaries, when he first became president, all that stuff was here.
Okay.
So this became his favorite place to visit in Austin, so much so that he watched the results of the 1964 election from the presidential suite.
Oh, wow.
After that, he addressed his supporters in the ballroom and danced a rather insane victory dance, which there is video coverage on YouTube of this. I thought that was kind of cute. He reminded me of my dad, very white man. You know? The Drizkill was quite possibly LBJ's favorite place in Austin. To this day, people recount tales of stumbling into the ballroom and catching a reflection of the late president and his adoring wife in the mirrors out of their eye. And apparently they're like embracing and they're dancing and it's very soft and sweet. And I'm like,
oh
my God. So that's the Drizkill, right? There are 4 haunted hotels, but that one is by far the most haunted, and it's also been featured on Ghost Adventures with their lovely bagel bites. The next is Littlefield Home in Austin.
Okay.
So this one is more of a tall tale than anything, but it's still, you'll understand why. So built by George Littlefield in 1893, this historic home was built on the campus of the University of Texas A&M. It is closed to the public. But
it happens.
Right. But good old George was apparently a nutter and decided to lock his wife in the attic. We'll get to why in a moment. Rachel's facial expressions of just like rolling her eyes and just being done with me is great.
Well, not so much done with you, so much as just done with men.
The men. So Alice and George were unable to have children of their own. So George and Alice devoted on their 12 nephews and 17 nieces.
Okay.
So they had 29 kids that they loved. When George built his mansion, he intended to have as many children over to the house as he could. if you couldn't have
I
one in
mean, it
one
makes
spot.
sense. Big family gathering.
Right.
Everybody comes over.
They even paid for all 29 of them to get college educations.
I love that.
I do too. Snaps for that. Um, you could say that George and Alice were loved by their family members and that they were the best. Um, but they didn't know that George, when he would go on an errand or a trip, he would lock his wife in the attic, fearing that the Yankees would swarm in and kidnap her. So he would bolt the attic door with her inside.
So instead, he wanted her to just die in case something happened.
Apparently.
Like, how did she get food or water?
I think maybe he just put her up there with some food and water, like already up there.
But still, terrifying.
I know. So after he would come back from his trips, Alice would have fits of hysteria. So she
No
lived in
shit.
right. Well, because of what he was telling her, she lived in terror that she would be stolen away from George or kidnapped or even brutally murdered because of these stories that he told her.
Right.
So, on more than one occasion, Alice could be seen hurrying down the stairs and her screams echoing through the mansion. This is what people have seen at the house.
Poor woman.
Yes. George had little idea what to do with his wife, so he brought her to one doctor after another until one advised him to take Alice to a sanatorium. He refused, and he hired 3 nurses whose sole job was to comfort and care for his Alice. As legend goes, he died of pneumonia in 1920. While Alice remained heartbroken, her condition somewhat improved after he died.
No shit, because he wasn't feeding her with this
Right.
horrendous lies that were terrifying her.
So she ended up loving life, attending parties by friends and family, died at the ripe old age of 88. And
Good for her.
good for her. Love that for her. She left her home to the University of Texas.
Oh, nice.
Love that. She was buried in Oakwood Cemetery beside George, and various sources suggest that Alice may have experienced some sort of mental illness towards the latter part of her life. But other sources argue she didn't. So, this one article, they interviewed the great-grandnephew, David Gracie. Alice was never locked in the attic, especially by the hands of her husband. It's just a tall tale. Gracie reported there's no basis for the rumor and it trashes the character of my grandparents. I think the legend exists because it's the only house to stand on campus. And it's the oldest. Campus myths are contagious and prolific on any campus.
But also, did he go over there while he was gone to see?
Well, I mean, he was the great grandnephew or great grandson.
Oh.
So, or great grandnephew. So, I mean, he probably couldn't have. But you and I both know.
That's the whole thing, is that unless somebody went over there and found out.
So, I did some digging. I talked to some neighbors. I did find out that it is, in fact, haunted. It is haunted by a woman who runs up and down the stairs. And I did check some forums, and the stories all match. All of the stories match. And it's people who actually went to Texas A&M. The most common phenomena in the house are sounds of a phantom piano playing. The piano that is on site doesn't play anymore. So, do you know who used to play the piano?
Alice.
So, even though people said that, these things didn't happen, you and I both know it probably did.
Oh, yeah.
Do you like bars?
Sometimes.
We're going to talk about a bar.
Okay.
And it's aptly named The Tavern.
Okay.
It's in Austin, and it's the most famously haunted bar. This thing has been on episodes of a bunch of paranormal shows like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, all of that stuff. A couple of mediums that I know went there. And they were like, "Are you ever going to go here?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. I don't drink." And they were like, "Good. Don't." Okay. You don't have to tell me twice. Right. So, the tavern was originally established as a Prohibition-era brothel.
Of course it was. Which alcohol in the back.
So, it says that a murdered prostitute or a madam's daughter, take your pick on which story, her name is Emily. She roams the premises, manifesting as an apparition and playing pranks.
Because might as well have fun.
Girls just want to have fun. So, established in 1916, the tavern has been a fixture of Austin culture for over a century. Originally created as the Enfield grocery store, because you remember how those groceries were back in the early 1900s. Yeah. It had a large and modern storefront. I'm probably going to mispronounce this. I do apologize. Architect Hung Kuhn modeled the building after architecture made popular by German public houses at the time.
Okay.
During Prohibition, it's rumored that the establishment became a storefront for a bustling upstairs bar, casino, and brothel. Time in. So, they had an upstairs brothel. Prohibition ended. The tavern was born. So it went from just being a general store to brothel to the tavern. Okay. Yeah. So it started in 1933. The tavern was serving food and beer and...
As one does.
Mm-hmm. So the tavern was the first in the area to offer air conditioning in its building.
Oh, love that.
It attracted people,
especially in Texas.
Right. It attracted people from all walks of life. Ow. Ooh. My ankle just popped. And Emily became a staple as its only longest living patron. Living is in quotes.
Of course it's in quotes.
Although if you ask Emily, this was her house first. And they're just visitors.
I mean, that's valid.
Right. So many guests have reported the following: being tapped, pinched, or being watched by something unseen. At times you may hear the sounds of footsteps or a phantom pool game. Hazy apparitions and cold spots have also, bless you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have been reported, as well as TV shutting on and off without any explanation. And during
yeah, because she wants them to leave.
Right. And during 2003, they had a renovation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They found Emily's shoes in the wall in the crawl space.
I mean, it makes sense.
Right. So
she probably stashed them there for safekeeping, and
right. Forgot they were there.
No, she probably knew they were there. It's just then, nobody else did, and so.
Well, we talked about the Littlefield home, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the campus of A&M. We're now talking about the second most haunted location on Texas A&M, which is known as the AI Engineering Building, known as Animal Industries.
Please tell me they help animals there. Mm-hmm. I hated it.
It's no secret that Texas loves a good old ghost story, but inside the Animal Industries building at Texas A&M has gone through major renovations over the last decade, but the story of the accident in the basement has left a man dead for the test of time.
Why is it a basement?
And why is it always men?
I mean, it's... That kind of answers itself, though.
So, the Animal Industries building was created in 1932. And this is how people studied bodies by cutting pork products. And you can also get your butchery license here. Did you know that?
I did not.
More you know. Jeff
Yeah.
Sitwell, the professor of meat science. You can get a degree in meat science.
I mean, it is Texas, so I mean, I'm not exactly surprised.
Well, good old Jeff said allegedly what was happening is that Roy Sims was skinning bacon. So the bellies with the skin still attached, and he was pulling the knife towards him. Rule number 1 in the
Which you
kitchen.
don't ever do,
You
guys.
do
Always
not.
away.
Always away. The knife is always pointed away. You never do it towards you. And if you do, you're wearing the appropriate cutting gear.
Yes.
Which I don't have, so I always cut away. But we're not talking about my fingers. So he pulled the knife towards him, it slipped and went down into his leg and cut his femoral artery. This is not what happened. Roy Sims was a foreman of the meat locker at Texas A&M University's old animal industries building, performing a bit of routine butchery on a slab of bacon.
Mm-hmm.
He died on the floor, 1959. His assistant stepped out for a moment, returning to find him bleeding out on the floor. An ambulance was summoned, but in vain. Sims died before he could even be removed from the building. Do you know how you get to the basement?
Obviously, stairs.
Nope.
Elevator shaft.
Mm-hmm.
He wants the elevator, doesn't he?
Yep. By the time Jeff arrived on
That's
campus in 1972, Sims' accident had led to more safety measures and even more ghost stories.
Of course, because that's usually what ends up happening after an accident with the death is safety measures come barreling into play.
Of course. So, over the years, Jeff stated that students and custodians working within the bowels of the building have reported invisible footsteps, strange noises, and objects scattered far from their original resting spots. He also attributes many of the stories to the natural spookiness of an old building, noisy machinery such as the elevator and refrigerator compressors. A series of renovations to the building have turned the site of Sims's accident into an office space. But the one thing about keeping his memory alive, and the ghost story with it, it's become a precautionary tale each semester as we visit with the students about safety and meat cutting. It gets their attention, and when you tell them that someone lost their life because of a knife accident.
Well,
so I did get
the more you know.
Right. The more you know. Shooting star. I love Jack. Anyways, so I had somebody ask me for more boats because we talked about the haunting that I went on and the haunting that you went on. There is one in U.S.
Once upon a time
when, we were in Girl Scouts. Also, you can order Girl Scout cookies online. Did you know that?
Yes.
And there is a group in New York that is a bunch of homeless shelters, which I'm going to get the link and post it for this episode on the links for a Spotify playlist. If you order them cookies, it helps them get towards the goal of getting a summer camp for these kids.
Nice.
So it pays for their clothes, it pays for their food, everything. So I think that would be
love that.
Nice. So speaking of boats, in Corpus Christi, which is home for Selena, we also have the USS Lexington. There were no stories. None. I researched for 7 hours yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I found no hauntings. But people who work there say it's haunted, but they don't go into in-depth. They just say it's haunted.
Well, I mean, probably because it's residual energy haunted.
Probably.
Because that's really what it was with the USS Alabama. It was just residual energy.
Oh no, that place is haunted.
Well, my experience was just residual energy kind of thing. But that's besides the point.
Yeah, I get it. So,
So, but like, unless they are able to see the dead people, all they're feeling is residual energy.
right. And so, like, the lights flicker on and off, basic stuff. Lights flicker on and off, old creaking, normal stuff, run of the mill,
Right.
science explained stuff, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's a specter that does walk the ship that I know of for a fact because of said neighbor, who's also a veteran,
Yeah.
let me know about this. I didn't put it in my notes, but he did talk to me about it yesterday. And when I tell you, like,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, cool. So it's called the Blue Ghost, and it was a World War II carrier, okay,
Yeah.
for aircraft. It's dry docked in a museum, but 400 people during the war died on that ship because they were being
Not
taken
surprised.
from where they were at to
Yeah,
probably
because
one of the
another
comfort
part
ships.
of being an aircraft carrier is you transport
Hmm.
the wounded.
So, from what he told me, there is a sailor that literally just walks through people, just literally doing his day to day stuff.
Yep.
And I'm like,
Doesn't even realize he's dead. He's just doing his rounds.
and for me, it's like I just get all cold, spotty, and stuff.
I know.
So there is another hotel in Galveston called the Hotel Galvez.
I
Or
mean, Galveston entirely is already
is
haunted as
already
well.
haunted.
So
It's so haunted. Do you want to know why?
I already know why.
Well, okay. Why do you know why?
Because of uh, the Great Galveston Hurricane.
Oh, yeah, that's what I put for my notes. So,
Because it literally wiped out the whole entire place.
not
And
just that, before that, in 1898, a fire destroyed another hotel right next door called the Beach Hotel. A
not surprised.
bunch of people died in that. And then the hurricane of 1900, which killed 6,000 people on the island.
Yep.
So, in 1940, the hotel was erected and had been erected for a little while, but it was taken over by the United States Coast Guard during World War II as a stopping point.
Yeah, because Galveston is a port.
Right.
So,
So, its importance to the local economy was restored after the war, particularly late in the 1940s and early 1950s when illegal gambling was popular in Galveston. There are a lot of
I mean, it
pictures.
makes sense.
A lot of pictures. Moodang. I
I love Moodang.
love Moodang. So, illegal gambling. Texas Rangers shut down the illegal gambling industry in the mid 1950s, early
Mm-hmm.
1960s, and the local economy became depressed again. And then the hotel started to deteriorate.
Yeah.
It's been restored over the years. During Hurricane Ike in 2008. The hotel lost clay tiles from its roof and flooded the lower level where the spa, health club, and business offices and the laundry were located, which we already know about that.
Because, guys, Galveston is on an island.
It's on the middle, like it's just there. So presidents, we talked about Lyndon B, right? LBJ.
Mm-hmm.
Franklin D, Dwight Eisenhower. They stayed there. Also, General MacArthur stayed there. Jimmy
Not surprised.
Stewart, Frank Sinatra, Howard Hughes.
Interesting.
Um, and the 6th and 7th floor suites are named after these famous people because that's where they like to stay. We're in these specific rooms. Um,
Makes sense.
I'm fine.
Okay.
That was a burp, but it wasn't a burp. So there are lots of ghosts climbing all over the Hotel Gabez because why can't they just be walking? Nope, they got to be climbing. So the lovelorn lady.
Because of stairs that are no longer there?
Yeah. Isn't that great? Just
I mean, it's not their fault that remodeling kind of took away their path.
So again, another tale about a bride. We have Audra, a 25-year-old bride in the mid 1950s, young, optimistic, you know the type. Her husband was a seafarer who sailed in and out of the port of Galveston, leaving Audra occasionally alone. During offshore excursions, Audra would always rent room 501. 501 was next to the elevator, which Audra would use the access to the ladder. After a catastrophic storm, Audra was informed that her fiance's ship had capsized. Inconsolable.
And that nobody was saved.
Right. Well, inconsolable, she hung herself in the west turret of the hotel. However, 3 days later, guess who showed up at the hotel?
Of course.
He survived the collapse of the ship and was eager to re-see his bride.
Only she was no longer there.
Right. So visitors claim that she visits and frequents the 5th floor, though her most popular place of residence is the matrimonial room, which is 501.
Yeah.
Some feel her chill, while others experience slamming doors.
Yeah, probably because she's pissed at herself.
Right. The televisions turn on and off, the lights too, flickering back and forth. A housekeeper once said that there was light being emitted from the room and no one was in.
I mean, that happens with haunted places.
They also can't make the keys for the door.
Yeah, because that's her room. She doesn't want anybody in her room.
Right. So next we have a nun.
Why nuns? Brides, ladies in white, children, and nuns.
The
Always those four.
It's always the four. So this is known as my namesake, Sister Catherine. It's the sister charity of the Daughters of Charity. So there's Daughters of Charity on the West Coast, and on the East Coast is Sisters of Charity. So
yes.
Sisters of Charity oversaw St. Mary's Orphan Asylum. So when the hurricane came through, St. Mary's Asylum also went under, which was on the same place where Hotel Galveston was erected.
Yeah.
So in an attempt to save as many children as possible, the sisters cut cloth into a rope and then tied it together and attached it to the children. Yeah. These ropes were then attached to the waists of the sisters, hoping to withstand the storm's winds. Some suspect that the ropes were counterproductive, actually leading or at least contributing to the deaths of the orphans, because some of the nuns were swept away.
Yeah.
90 children and 10 nuns perished in the hurricane, still attached to one another, and their remains were found along the beach of the hotel cafes. Because of this...
I've deep dived that hurricane. And it's a lot of things should have been done leading up to it even reaching Galveston, and they weren't, because some guy had his panties in a wad and didn't want to listen to the Cubans and the people in the islands that were broadcasting the information to the U.S.
Right. Like, hey, you should probably do this. And he's like, nah, I'm good.
He's like, just straight up ignoring it. It's like, oh yeah, no, this isn't going to be, that bad of a storm. It's just, just a small storm. Meanwhile, other meteorologists are like, no, this is going to be bad.
Right.
And makes me so angry. And there's no reason for me to be this angry at a dead person.
Well,
I mean, because of this storm, a lot more of things were put into place.
Right.
A
lot more safety measures.
National Hurricane Center and for NOAA and not getting on that soapbox today.
You are not. It's okay. It's all right.
Because that is a whole other topic, guys.
I mean, we can talk about, the other topic that Emily wanted me to cover, which was the Winchester Mystery House next time,
Yes.
if you want it.
But yeah, no, the Galveston hurricane it's
terrible.
I learned about it several years ago, and then after Hurricane Michael happened, I redove into it, and while it helped me a little bit
Deal
with
with the
healing,
dealing with the trauma, yeah.
it just made me so angry for those people that were there
Right.
and died because of some dickhead who didn't want to listen to other people.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the nuns were talking to the archdiocese, so if we want to be angry at anything, we can be mad at the Catholics. So,
But that's just a normal anger. So that's the nuns were trying to do as best they could for the children.
Right. And I mean, they tried to make them as comfortable as humanly possible with what little they had.
Yes.
And I mean, like,
and them tying them together, they had no idea that it was going to be this horrendous storm surge.
No. And they were,
and honestly, that's because they just thought it was going to be wind. Okay, we're going to tie the children together. We can, evacuate from where we're at to
where we're going.
A bigger place,
right?
To where we're going and be fine. They had no idea that the storm surge was coming until it was too late.
Right.
And that's what killed so many people.
Well, and I mean, like, granted, oh my God, we were talking about this at the coffee social, which is going to be, I think, this Friday or next Friday. We were talking at the coffee social about, zombie apocalypse and all this other crap. And I love my kid. Bless him. He's so cute. He's just like, what are you talking about, Mom? And I was like, well, as a healthcare worker in California, this was back in the day before COVID and everything. You had to do, when you were getting your medical assisting, certification, you had to do a stint with the CDC. Everybody did it. Everybody did it. You did one weekend, right? And what they do is they donate time. Getting dizzy. They donate time to the local homeless shelters in the area. So you contact them, you say, hey, I want to do a weekend on this day. And they tell you if you are prepared for a hurricane, earthquake, mudslide, flood, and fire, you are literally prepared for the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
So it's really funny because me and my husband are from where?
California.
We are prepared for the zombie apocalypse. And he goes, well, do you have a box? And I said, no, we have 4. Each box is a different thing. So we have 2 things of sealed water. Like, sealed. We have 2 things of water in the freezer. And then we have 4 different types of, like, filters for water, which filters everything out. And then I have tampons specifically for filtering because you don't know when you're going to have to use things. So,
and also they're good fire starters.
They are good fire starters. And speaking of fire starters, I have 12 fire start packets that are already prepared. All I have to do is pour wax on them, which I have wax melts. Just pour the wax melts. It's going to smell like lemon. I don't give a shit. But you put
it works.
You put some rosemary and some sage in that wax. Guess what? It keeps away the bugs, keeps away the bees, keeps away the mosquitoes. So, anyways, we're going to be on our soapboxes all damn day if that's the case.
Anyways, back to...
So, of course, because we talked about the nuns with the children, we're going to have to talk about the children. I'm sorry.
I know. It's okay.
But it's only one.
Okay.
Just one.
Okay.
So it safeguards a small ghostly girl. They're very overprotective of this girl.
Oh, of course.
So, no, the hotel. The staff there, they love her.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm not surprised that they're overprotective about her.
So, vit, I tried to put witness and visitors in the same sentence, and my brain malfunctioned. So, visitors witness this
There we
unexplained
go.
apparition near the hotel lobby, gift shop, and staircase. That's where she likes to frequent.
Mm-hmm.
Often seen bouncing her ball, guest reports that she wears 19th century clothing. Even construction workers have claimed to see this ghoulish girl. Because, when they were working there, it was closed.
Yeah.
They didn't know that she was a ghost at the time. Of course, notified the front desk that a child was playing near the construction area. And I put cause for concern.
Yeah.
Guests hear other phantom children running and laughing throughout the hotel, playing the piano in the lobby, or running amok in the halls. Amok, amok,
Amok, amok,
amok,
amok.
amok. So you can listen.
Sorry.
You can listen to the sound of their laughter if you look closely enough. Though the children themselves remain unseen. So we got 4 left. All right.
Do you know why the children are seen there?
It's the same children with the nuns.
Yeah, it's because the hotel was one of the few buildings left standing, and so they were using it to as a site for the bodies
Damn.
for them, so that way then they could bury them.
Yeah, because they were buried on the near the beach. Anyways, not on the beach,
Yeah,
but near where they were found.
but the there was a few buildings that weren't swept away, and those buildings obviously are still there today, but they were using them as places to collect the bodies so that way family members could come uh, get their loved ones.
Right.
And so that's why the children are there.
Thanks. I hate it. And I
I'm
researched it.
sorry. I told you I should have I've done a couple of deep dives on the hurricane. I
Hey,
hate it.
hey, it's fine. It's fine. At least one of us, I read like 6 articles, but I mean, like,
Well, that's also because Galveston is not that far from Texas Sister's house. And so we've gone to Galveston several times, and it's all on like the plaques on the buildings and the
I
historical markers.
I only want to go because there's no cars.
No, there are cars, but they have them park in like specific areas.
But it's mainly like carless. There's like 3
Yeah.
islands in the United States where there's no cars. There's one in Rhode Island. There's
Mhm.
one near Florida, I think near Florida, and then there's this one.
Oh, Galveston Island.
Yeah,
So like there's you can drive on parts of Galveston Island, but a lot of it is just beach.
right.
So you have to park in a parking spot and just walk.
Rock. Yeah.
They do have public transport to get you to certain places, but it's mostly, your Lambo Feeties.
Right. I saw a lot of pictures with like golf carts. That's why I assumed that it
Yeah.
wasn't that they didn't have cars. But the next one is very spooky,
Okay.
but it's about older people. So,
Of course it is.
this is called the La Carafe Dive Bar in Houston. Built in 1836, it was a narrow 2-story brick structure built during the Civil War era, and it still stands.
Oh yeah, brick makes sense.
It's listed as the National Register of Historic Places. It's a no frills dive bar. They only serve liquor. You can't get food,
I mean,
which is fine. But if you want food, they have snacks like chips, and that's about it.
yeah,
Um,
that's because they have to with the liquor license.
yeah. So
So that way people can kind of absorb the alcohol before they try and leave.
in the 1860s, the Kennedy Bakery was the first business in operation here. So it used to be a bakery.
Okay.
During the Civil War, the bakery sold hardtack, which is a shelf-stable biscuit. I learned all
It
about
is
the
horrible.
hardtack yesterday. It is disgusting. Apparently, a lot of people, when they opened up hardtack, sometimes they would have mealworms in them or maggots. And I was like, ew.
They would specifically dip it in their water or like their coffee to soften it up so they could eat it because otherwise it could break a tooth.
Right.
It was a lot of times put in the MREs for World War I and World War II because it was shelf safe and they could ship it over.
Right. And that's what a
The
lot
more
of
you know.
that's what a lot of my research showed, was that, that's the main thing that they did. Um
Yeah.
so
Random midnight deep dives of mine.
so Sam Houston once paid a visit to this site.
Mm-hmm.
The building later housed a drugstore and a hair salon before James Harrison leased the space to open a bar in the mid-50s called Le Carafe. Uh, and then it got changed later to La Carafe. So,
Yeah.
1987, it was purchased by Warren Truesdale, who died a little more than a year later, and left La Carafe and Warren's Inn to his sister, Carolyn. Um, and she's
Okay.
still alive and kicking. She's kept both bars running since then. The bartender and the owner, my God, have often heard opened repeat tales, such as Carl Truscott, a deceased bar manager, seen through the window at night. So they're locking up, they look in and they see him.
Yeah.
Bartender recalled, a guy came over and told me he felt a hand grabbing his shoulder in the restroom. Yet,
That's terrifying.
the stall's barely hold enough for one person, so.
But still, the fact you're in there to huge business, and
Right.
if you hadn't already avoided your bladder, you're about to.
Right. And Carolyn got the bar in 1988, and she didn't get dissuaded, even though it's haunted. She's like, might as well. Brings in good business,
Right.
So during a TV interview in 2019, Carolyn told the story of the bar patron visiting the men's room. He was tapped on the shoulder, and then told them of the second floor.
Okay.
Do you want to know what happens on the second floor?
Did somebody die?
Well, we'll get to that. But seances are operated on the second floor during October.
Of course they are.
The spirits are not as friendly as those commingling with the living on the bottom floor. This section of the
No
building
shit.
has a bar, but
They're up there to be left alone.
Right. So the second floor has a bar, but it's only open on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
Our favorite, a woman in white,
Oh God.
often
Guys,
appears.
choose a different color. Please.
Don't make me laugh. No. So she often appears on the top of the staircase. No, you're not. You like making me laugh.
I do, just because you need all the laughter ever. I just don't like it when you laugh and then get hurt.
Yeah, well, So patrons have seen her walking down the hallway to the top of the stairs. She disappears and then repeats this action over and over again.
I mean, makes sense.
If you are unlucky to meet her up there and are a woman, she will push you down the stairs.
Well, that's just a bitch move.
Other spirits that occupy the top floor are a little boy who chases a ball down the hallway.
Okay.
And a singing woman. Confused customers hear her disembodied voice over loud chatter at the bar.
That can be a little terrifying sometimes.
Right. Well, you remember I talked about Carl?
Yeah.
He was the previous bartender that used to work there in the 60s.
Okay.
He's often seen standing behind the bar, tending to the needs of the ghostly patrons that are said to frequent the establishment.
Makes sense.
Carl appears in the second floor window, disappearing shortly after being seen. His deep, bellowing voice can be heard throughout the building as the last night's final last call.
I mean, makes sense. It was part of his life for so long.
Right. So the last three have the most information, but I kind of condensed two of them.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is known as the Hill House. Everybody's heard about the Hill House. I did a very small snippet on it. I didn't want to go too much into it
Okay, good.
because that's yeah.
That's
So
a topic for another time.
yeah. So have you ever heard of the Baker Hotel?
Yes.
So it's within the same square mile.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tiny home, and it's in a town called Mineral Wells.
Yes.
So it was constructed in 1880, and the decaying structure originally belonged to a prominent family that lived in Mineral Wells.
Mm-hmm.
So from 1880 until 1930, the home served as a makeshift hospital.
Because of course.
Looming 120 feet, 25 feet away is the infamous Baker Hotel, commonly regarded as one of Texas's most haunted hotels. The Hill
Mm-hmm.
House provided a more discreet locale for bootleggers, prostitutes, scandalers, and gamblers. Love that.
Say that 3 times fast.
That was hard for me to write and even practice saying. So
No.
several deaths have occurred here over the years, and it is said that the spirits never left.
Of course.
Proof of their presence has been documented by countless investigation crews, making the house a world-renowned haunt. They do have haunted house there for the month of October. Paranormal investigators, ghost hunters, ghost adventures, the normal guys have gone there.
Yeah.
That's it that I wanted to recap on it, because I didn't want to go into the murders that happened there, and I didn't want to go into anything else because that's its own episode.
Right.
So, of course, everyone knows about the next topic I'm going to talk about. I've already talked about highlights. What big locale do you think is in Texas that everyone talks about?
The killing fields.
No, that's last.
Really?
The Alamo.
Oh, yeah, that one too.
Everyone knows about the topic. From Twilight to old westerns, it has been used. The Alamo. The Battle of Alamo was in 1836, and indubitably the most remembered fight of the Texan struggle for independence. The Duke, aka John Wayne, portrayed Davy Crockett in the 1960 film The Alamo, only further illuminated the struggle of Texans' fight as they strove to free themselves from Mexico's tightly gripped clinch. The exact details of the Battle of Alamo are unknown. Not a single Texan soldier survived, save one.
Including the men and women that were inside the Alamo for safety.
Right. There was only one that did survive.
Mm-hmm.
Colonel William Travis's slave, Joe, who was later released by General Santa Anna on the premise that since Joe had not a choice on whether he fought, he could not be held accountable for standing with the rebels.
Oh, good.
The Alamo has a long sordid history that we can go into further detail later if the listeners like, and they want us to do a full episode on the Alamo, I can. But we're here for the ghosts, damn it. So,
we're here for the ghosties.
Not long after the battle was when the ghosts started to appear.
Of course.
By 1846, Texas had been annexed into the United States, and the old Alamo was converted into a complex for the U.S. Army. But in 1871, the decision came to demolish part of the old church, leaving only the old barracks and part of the church. Sightings of ghosts wandering the grounds of the church began to be reported, almost all of them coming from guests staying at the Menger Hotel just across the plaza, which is another haunted thing, which Menger Hotel gets its own episode because we're hoping to go there and have dinner.
Yeah. It is a
whole episode.
San Antonio by itself is just an
haunted.
Episode.
I went there and I was fine. I was feeling full of energy. We went with Sam for Christmas to see the lights. I fell down a flight of stairs. I was tired. It was a lot. It was a lot. I got into the car and I passed out. Josh said by the time I hit within like 20 minutes of us getting home, I woke up just wide awake.
Yep. Sounds
So
about right.
the hotel swore that they hadn't seen spirits for a while, but that they had seen spirits marching up and down the path in front of the Alamo.
No shit.
Some of the apparitions disappearing into the walls of the building, and others stood guard all night as if protecting the site from anything or anyone that might seek to tear it down. Long before the Battle of Alamo occurred in 1836, the plaza was once a cemetery in the city of San Antonio. Why do people do this?
Because they're not so smart.
Between the years of 1724 and 93, it is estimated that nearly 1,000 people were buried on that land alone.
Yep.
Once the
and that's just the known ones.
That's just the known ones, not the unknown ones. Then the battle transpired and the number of dead increased by 10.
Mm-hmm.
It is said that often construction workers doing work in the Alamo Plaza sometimes pull up skulls and bones. One of the most commonly spotted ghosts at the old mission is one of a blonde-haired boy. He is most seen in the upstairs left window, which is now part of the Alamo's gift shop. As the story goes, it is believed that the little boy was evacuated during the siege of the Alamo. Though he survived, it is thought perhaps his parents did not, and his spirit returns over and over again to the site where he last saw them during the month of February. He is seen most frequently.
Yep.
So
they believe he was evacuated, but they don't know.
Right. Well, we have 2 left. Yes, 2 left.
Okay.
All right. So, I know this is long. I apologize. There was a lot of information. So,
it's a big state.
So, built in 1840 to 1950, the years kind of conflict online, by somebody by the name of James Campbell, the Magnolia Hotel was constructed. Originally, it was a 2-room log cabin.
Yeah.
Later, configured into a 10-room frontier hotel, stagecoach stop, saloon, and massive restaurant, transforming Seguin's largest, most elegant hotel during the 20th century. The basement of this hotel was the first original jail in Seguin.
It's always a basement, guys.
And also a safe house during the Comanche attacks, which you and I both know they were baited. They didn't just attack.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like they just wanted these interlopers off their land so they can continue their lives the way they had for generations.
Right. And stupid the white people men said, "Fuck that." So
stupid white men. As a white person, I say stupid white men.
I look white, but I'm not.
You're not.
So the building had been in poor repair for a number of years and was added to the list of most endangered historic places in Texas in 2012. In 2013, the structure came under new ownership of Aaron Getty and Jim Getty and was being restored for use as a private residence.
Yeah.
Only part of it was.
I wouldn't.
No, only part of it was, but the rest of it, so they built on like a new portion. So that part was. The old part, the hotel owners claim that there are 13 ghosts haunting the building, and according to the website, the hotel was featured on Ghost Adventures Aftershock, Nick Groff's Tour, When Ghosts Attack, Ghost Brothers, and Strange Towns, and along with many more. You want to know why?
Not surprised.
You want to know why?
Because shit's haunted as fuck.
Because shit's haunted as fuck. The famous people that have been here: Governor John Ireland, Cattleman Michael Erskine, Judge Jeremiah Calvert, Texas Ranger John Coffee Hayes, William Bigfoot Wallace, which was also a Texas Ranger, Colonel Thomas D. Johnston, General Robert E. Lee, Sam Houston, Madam Pink Rosebud, who is big, Dr. William Redd, and even the innocent man murdered by mob rule William Faust. It also, which is why I cut this one short, we're discussing at a later point, because it was home to a notorious murderer and music teacher, Mr. Devers.
Yay.
Legend has it that President Ulysses Grant stayed there during the Reconstruction era while inspecting the camps, and Bonnie and Clyde on their way to visit secret family nearby.
I mean, that's possible.
The spirits are pleasant and kind and willing to communicate, but not evil.
They just want to be left alone, mostly.
If you seek wicked, horror, demonic ghosts who attack and harm you, this isn't the place for you. Which is why we talk about the last one.
Yeah.
This next one, we are treating with absolute respect. I'm doing a whole episode on it later because it's
a lot.
There are 8 men that this involves, so I'll just state that now. Located in League City, the Texas Killing Fields is a title used. Let me redo that. Located in League City, the Texas Killing Fields is a title used roughly to denote the area surrounding Interstate Highway 45, corridor southeast of Houston, where since the early 1970s, more than 30 bodies have been found, specifically to a 25-acre path of land in League City, Texas, where 4 women were found between 1983 and 1991. There was a movie made about this, which I'll talk about at the end.
Okay.
The reason being that I'm having a hard time discussing this, I drove that coming here.
I drive past it a lot at when we're at Sisters.
You remember when I called you from the car. I was having that really eerie feeling, and I found out about it when I came here, that's what it was. So there were women of all races, sizes, and ages that were found discarded, literally, in the swampy marshes that are found on the side of the road off of Interstate 45. Those who have been found were as young as 10 and as old as 25. As of March of this year, over 30 bodies have been found. They will not discuss on some of them, but I go into the victims later on a later episode. It has been decades since young women began turning up dead off of stretches of I-45 between Houston and Galveston, a marshy, desolate region near the Gulf of Mexico. The bodies that have been discovered there since the 70s, most of them female, with very few of the cases actually solved. That is because only a few of them are linked. None of them are by the same person.
Yeah.
More women have gone missing from that area than any other area of the nation. And that is including the California serial killer that I think you requested. The one that drove down the interstate, the Golden State Killer?
I don't think I did.
Okay, somebody did.
Somebody requested
it. In the 80s and 90s, they tragically saw a new wave of bodies being discarded. Some of these cases form the focus of a new Netflix series investigated what became titled The Texas Killing Fields. This 3-part documentary centers not only on the murdered girls and women, but also the destroyed lives of the devastated families, and even ruled out suspects that were left behind. Equine Search, the guy that goes for all the missing people in the United States with his horses, his daughter was one of the ones that was found.
Which is what started him doing what he does.
There were several people convicted of the crimes that were committed to these women, which we're covering at a later date. Again, we're going to go over this horrible case in full terrible detail, but let's talk about the hauntings.
Yeah.
Although not noted that it is super haunted because it's respectful. This place is eerily quiet. People who have visited here from forums and other posts that I researched have gone to pay their own respects, and it is so quiet, quote, the birds don't even sing there.
Yeah, it is so eerily quiet there. Like, there's no noise from any animals. Like, you get occasionally, like, road noise from people, like, randomly driving by,
right.
but like, there's
nothing.
It's just devoid of all sound.
Right. But apparently, there's some new evidence that came out. And
okay.
Local news station KPRC2 has a true crime docuseries called The Evidence Room, which has an in-depth 4-part look at the victims, their lives, and how their families have not been able to get closure.
Okay.
So, as I stated, I will be doing a full part thing. I think it might be a 2-hour-long episode for that one, but that is Texas and all of its terrible sordid details. I do have to tell you, I went through my house, make sure that all the doors and windows were locked before I climbed into bed last night, and then had Frank go take a look because I'm terrified. Some of the stuff I saw, I
know.
Well, because some of the crime scene photos for some of them were released.
Yeah.
And that's just, I was not ready for that. Like, if he's here, it's one thing. If he's
different.
It's different. He's not here.
Looking at it and being at the house by yourself is.
But Party Possums, that was Texas. It was terrible. I hated it. Thanks. But there you go. You got a bunch of creepy ghosts and shit. Dirty bastards.
For spooky season.
For spooky season. Stay feral.
Fight the hand that feeds you.
Amen to that. And God, I hate it today, but we'll see you next time. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Next time on the Pandemonium Witches. No thanks.
Apparently, they are a worldwide phenomenon. So many people have seen them. There's an official website that archives encounters.
What?
She also believes that the figures to be negative aliens that can be repelled by various means, including invoking the name of Jesus.
Listen, we need to leave my cousin out of shit like this. He doesn't want to be involved.
Often compared to Raven Mocker in Cherokee mythology and Jinn from pre-Islamic mythology. Typically described as having very little or no discernible features, although some people have claimed to feel him staring at them. No shit.
No shit, Sherlock. Jesus Christ.
No thank you.
No thank you. Thank you, but no thank you.